Well, yeah, well, most of the travel I do with the scientists, again, I'm there to provide photographic support for them. A lot of times it's just documenting what they do and where they are, and the things that they see and find and collect and that sort of thing, which is a lot of fun. The drawback with doing that is, well, you find yourself in all sorts of exciting, adventurous places like the Amazon basin in Peru and in Bolivia and that sort of thing. Belize, Guatemala, India, that's another story. Almost everywhere I go, all the pretty places on earth, all the really gorgeous, pleasant climate, no bugs, stuff like that, cushy places to go study science have already been studied. They were studied 100 years ago or 200 years ago. So what's left is very interesting places, but they're a little rougher, they're hotter, they're humid, they're full of bugs and snakes and really miserable living conditions. So in Peru, I spent 6 weeks sleeping on the ground in a tent with tarantulas and snakes and all manner of things that were being collected, actually. But they did sort of make a shower, and they did sort of have a bathroom of sorts. So that was kind of cushy. But that was about the limits. In Peru, I lost about a pound a day. The local cooking and I didn't get along very well together. So I lost a pound a day for 6 weeks. And my wife didn't know me when I got off the plane. I was looking pretty shabby. The technology has changed so completely from the days of film to new digital stuff. And I was one of the last people to hold out of all the other photographers and types around here. I was the one dragged kicking and screaming into the digital age, because they were all younger than me. They all know digital stuff better. They grew up with electronics and a push button sort of culture, much more than I. So I was the last to go. I got my first digital camera in 2005. And I never looked back. Now, if somebody wants me to shoot something on film, I'll try to talk them out of it. I'll try everything under the sun, but film. So occasionally they insist, so I still have to drag out a film camera. But digital is just wonderful stuff. Can't say enough nice about it. It has its own problems and quirks, of course. I knew absolutely, well, not exactly nothing about electronics. I didn't know a whole lot about electronics. I didn't know that much about digital anything when it first got started. Luckily, I had an intern at the time who was a young guy who'd never shot film in his life. He'd only shot digital. And I knew everything about film photography, but knew nothing about digital. He was an IT guy, so I learned an awful lot from him. His name's Ken Ram, and he's still around. He's doing IT stuff now, but anyway, he's a character. So my digital education began in '05, and as we got into digital, I began to realize how much of the sort of quirky stuff we had to do in the old days to accommodate the limits of film. Film behaves peculiarly in light and so forth. Even something as simple as exposure. If an exposure length is 1/100th of a second, that's fine. If you stretch it out to 1 second, suddenly it's not fine. You have to compensate for that. The longer the exposure on film, the longer you have to expose to compensate for what's called reciprocity failure. Digital doesn't have that at all. Also, color temperature. If you take daylight film, which is the more common film around for people, if you shoot it outdoors, it looks beautiful. If you shoot it indoors under tungsten lighting, regular household lights, it looks orange. And if you shoot it under fluorescent light, it looks green. So film has this limitation. It can be engineered for one particular color balance of light. Digital doesn't have that. In the old days, we had to carry around a ton of filters to correct for whatever the color temperature was of the environment that we walked into. You may walk into an exhibit and find that it's lit with fluorescent light, or walk into a building somewhere and find out that it's lit with tungsten spotlights. You had to have the right filters and film combination to get the right shot right on film. In digital, it doesn't matter what you shoot. You just get in there and click, and you correct it later in post-processing. Again, Photoshop is the great equalizer with digital, shooting digital, and Adobe's Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom, which is the post-processing photographer's program. Everything works. You can make anything look great, anything at all. Trust me. And sometimes we get called upon to do that. Something that's particularly odious, and we have to make it look good. We can do that.